you look around the league, there's a lot of teams, in the hunt. We're in the hunt. You sit here and you say, hey, Thanksgiving, and close to the end of November, and we're in the hunt. When you sit around that table tomorrow, you're saying we're in the hunt. And there's a lot of teams that wish they were in the hunt. Well, we're in the hunt.
I love my parents. I don't call them when there's nothing to talk about. Like, I don't just call them to shoot the crap. And I don't think I should have to do a Bills podcast in the 1 month where there's nothing going on. But since I love this podcast so much, I venture out and do it. This is the In the Huntcast. It's July, and just because there's nothing going on doesn't mean we are not going to entertain you. Right, guys?
We do our best, I guess.
We like to set the bar nice and low, and then, also come in under that bar. Did Greg freeze? This is okay.
I'm good. Sorry.
Okay. Greg, would you like to talk about our guests we have on the podcast? You've only done half of your intro job so far.
Yes, I have not. I have only done hold on a second. I'm having a problem. No, please intro our guest for a second. Give me a second.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll do your one job, Greg. We have that's all he does on the podcast. He can't even do the intro. We have as our guest Dan Fetes, I believe. Am I saying your last name correct?
Fetes, close enough. It's fine.
Fetes is a better. I think Fetes is better than Fetes.
It is.
Bill's report out in Rochester and WHAM over there. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Greg, Greg, are you able to?
There was a dog-related issue. I'm not kidding. I'm very sorry about that.
That's okay.
And we're not even going to edit it out. That's
we'll
leave that in.
Yeah, people need to know that what we're all dealing with. So, Greg, you say it's July, but we have news stories to discuss.
There's nothing going on. Dan talks on. There's nothing going on.
There's tons of things going on because we haven't had a podcast in a couple weeks. People are dying to hear about our takes on stuff. The news item number one, Greg, you're going to be excited. I can already see it on your face. You're going to be excited to talk about this. There's a report that the Bills, unconfirmed as of now, but they're going to make a new open air stadium in Orchard Park about 3 to 5 years away. What do people think overall? Do we like the stadium staying in Orchard Park for tailgating purposes? Or do we want it downtown? Do we want a dome? We'll start with our guests first. Do you have any thoughts I know this is unofficial as of now.
Yeah, it was one of the stories too that Mike Catalano, my sports director at 13 WHAM, he kind of got the inside scoop on it as well. And as of right now, they wanted to kind of, the thought is what he's hearing is that it will kind of have like the awning over it. So kind of like what Miami has at Hard Rock, or think about what Seattle has like, where it will kind of shield some of the spectators from the elements, but it will still be open air. A lot of talk about this, and I go in two schools of thought. I think that, they always talk about the home field advantage in Buffalo, like that, it's like, oh, like you want to keep it open air. You want to play outside because of the home field advantage. Like it was never a home field advantage when the Bills weren't good. I always go back to that. Like the Superdome wasn't a home field advantage until Drew Brees and the Saints got there, and then they started winning. So yes, the home field's an advantage. Like when they go down to Miami, it's like, oh, the Heat plays an advantage. But if the Dolphins aren't any good, the elements don't matter. So the fact that the team is playing well, that brings the home field advantage into it. So like, as long as Josh Allen is playing anywhere, there's going to be a home field advantage. Where I lean to as a fan and somebody in the media, if you do get a dome, you'll get a Super Bowl. Like you'll get a Super Bowl. You could get Final Four appearances. Like you get bigger events. Now that's probably going to be an extra $1 billion, like with a B on it. And that's up to the Pagulas and probably taxpayers to figure that out. Like that's above our head. But what we're hearing is possibly the stadium, they're running about like $1.6 billion. And if you want to have a dome, you're looking at, north of 2 billion. Like that's going to have to be on the Pagulas to some respects and what the fans want. But I went to school at Fredonia. My roommates had season tickets for like $300 to sit in the 300 section. Like if you get this brand new spanking stadium, like I don't think the Pagulas want to price out that fan that has, become so passionate and has stuck by this team, guys, for so long.
I think what actually they're trying to work out with the open air, half closed air thing is that trying to find a way to make it so the open air is only on the poor people. Protect the rich people and so they're trying to make a reverse dome.
Yes.
That when the good seats it's covered, but in the bad seats
It covers only the players.
yes, it covers the players, and then
It'll
the
cover the
people
field,
rest.
and then they'll have cutouts for the 300 section for it to snow on.
Yeah, there's an orphan section that's under a waterfall. It's just it's terrible what they're trying to do. No.
And this
our community will pay for a stadium.
Oh,
no matter
yeah.
what. we won't have textbooks for kids for 6 years in order to fund the stadium.
And this is also what an easy mark I am. When I gave Dad that question in my mind, I'm like, I kind of like the open air thing. It's kind of like, and then he talked for 3 minutes. I was like, yeah, they should have a dome. That dome.
And the only reason I say it is because I went to Ford Field for a preseason game in 2019. And I loved everything about Ford Field. I thought it was the coolest stadium I've ever been to. It's actually built off like an old warehouse. So like one of the walls is like brick, and it used to be an old warehouse, and they built off of it. It is such character. It wouldn't be this it's not this cookie cutter like Jerry's World. Like you can still bring in some of these ties of this Buffalo, atmosphere into it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm biased. I don't love shooting in the cold weather. And also like when we talked to players last year, I remember when it was the playoffs, like, and talking to Micah Hyde and those guys, like, we don't love it. Like nobody loves playing in the snow. It's like our favorite thing to do, but like you tolerate it. And like that becomes the identity of the team. But when it's somebody's like, well, you can't have a dome because the Buffalo's all about elements. I just think that's a dumb reason.
Yeah. The only thing that's good about an open air stadium is in 15 years when we're watching NFL films and they have that slow motion breathe out of the player and you can see his breath out of his helmet.
And the flyover.
For that reason alone, I want an open air stadium.
That, and in 30 years when the urine piles up, like that'll help dissipate the smell.
But so are we all Orchard Park over downtown? Because that also people seem to be pretty split. Because if it's downtown, tailgating goes away, or at least mutates into something very different.
I will say this. Like you said, love the tailgating in Orchard Park. It feels like you're camping, even if you're just there for the day. But the utilitarian in me, that's philosophy 101.
You have never used that word before in your life.
I used to write philosophy papers drunk after Bills games, and I would crush them and I'd get A's. Anyways, I think it would be better for the city of Buffalo to be downtown. I don't care, like tailgating's great, but the older I get, how much am I really going to go from 7 a.m. to the end of the game now? Eventually it would morph into going to a friend's house and taking the train down. It would help me not hurt as much at the end of a game. And I could fall asleep on the train when I'm drunk. No one ever talks today. I can't fall asleep while I'm driving.
Well, yeah, but that train goes 4 stops where you off the
I'm going to ride it back and forth. I told you I'm taking a nap.
Okay. All right, that's fair. Okay, well, the next thing we have to talk about is if someone tweeted at us that they're excited for us to talk about this, which is that Cole Beasley is a fucking idiot, and we have to talk about it.
Why?
Because people wanted our
By the way, we can't
rage.
take any political stances yet because we don't have enough fans. We have a good amount of fans, but not enough to take stances.
Don't say people wanted, person wanted. Person wanted to hear about this.
That tweet got like 4 likes. So.
Dan's on TV. We should see if he even wants to talk about this. Well, I can't lose my job at the unemployment line. Okay.
Well, and that's what's so funny about this whole thing is that people have been on our case about why are you asking the players about vaccines? Why are you asking Josh Allen? Why are you asking Sean McDermott? What does it matter? Talk about the game. Talk about football. This is going to be a part of football. I can't stress that enough. Like we saw Chris Paul in the Western Conference Finals go out with COVID. Like COVID is still going to be a factor, and we have seen it throughout other sports where COVID is still a thing. And so. And the one thing that always stood out to me is when Sean McDermott, who's not shy about his words, he said he believes that the country has turned a corner primarily because of vaccinations. He thinks everybody should get them. Like he is very out front and open about it. And he said that we're trying to educate the players and we're trying to educate our guys. Now, Sean McDermott's not trying to educate them from like a what is the vaccine do standpoint. What I believe he means when he says that is he's trying to educate them on if you're on the fence and you get the vaccine, it will help our team because then we will be able to have more in-person meetings and we won't have to jump through all these hoops and we won't have to do all these things that we had to do last year. Like there is a real advantage to getting to a threshold where life goes back to 2019. And while the NFL cannot mandate players to get the vaccine, they will do everything in their power to make it a living hell for the players that don't get it. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. This isn't a pro-vaccine or an anti-vax stance. This is just the fact of what the NFL wants. Normally the NFL gets. So like when they're not going to give bonuses to the players if they're vaccinated and then they get COVID, they will still get the game check. Like they're going to do everything in their power to be like, it's going to suck if you don't get the vaccine. And when Cole Beasley comes out and makes this stance and it became such big news was Cole Beasley was never made available to us in the media. He was never available to a Zoom. The Bills had picked who spoke at the end of each practice, after each minicamp, after each OTA. And so Cole just starts getting in a Twitter war with like guys that have like 6 followers. And then like
don't call out Kyle like that. He's got a couple more recently.
And then he's going at doctors. And then all of a sudden it was like when we talked to Jordan Poyer, who again, his wife, Rachel Bush, very outspoken about being anti-vax. He handled it what I thought was just perfectly. He came out and said, guys, I'm not going to talk about it. And we still asked questions respectfully. And he answered like, hey, guys, I know what you're saying, but like, it's not a distraction. We're focused on football. We're having healthy dialogues in the locker room, all of that things. And then Cole goes off the deep end, which was so anti-process, which was so anti-staying in Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane's world to go and notes app a press release without the team, unprompted, was a distraction. And I will not believe anybody who tells me it's not when we're hearing all of these things.
There's a couple things you said I want to touch on. One is there's a certain segment of sports fans that are so fucking strange about, you could only talk about sports and that's the only thing you could, like, there could be a fire on the field and be like, yeah, look, there's a fire, and they're like, hey, talk about
the
Josh
cover
Allen.
2?
Yeah,
the cover 2 play. Like what did you see from the linebacker?
And you're just like it's on the field. Like this affects the thing. Like it's crazy to not talk about it. That I think is ridiculous. And here's a thing I despise personally is like there's a big thing going around. I think because people or Bills fans, they want to like Cole Beasley. You want to like the people on your teams. So you feel invested in them. But people do this kind of twist where if they're pro-vaccines, they do this twist where they're like, well, you know what? That's his opinion and we should just still respect his opinion. You don't got to fucking respect a dumb opinion. I know the country is divided, people, blah, 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 but like there are opinions that are dumb and you could call the opinions dumb. Like if someone was against gay marriage, it's not like, well, that's an opinion. That's homophobic garbage. And being anti-vaccine is dumb, selfish, dangerous. And he's being a fucking idiot. And you could say that while also being like, well, maybe I hope he's a good guy, but like that opinion is dumb.
Well, and there's 2 things. And like I said, the one big thing that stands out to me is I do try and see where these guys are coming from, like to some respects. Like, again, like when it was all of the social media stuff, like social injustice stuff, like, again, wasn't raised like how some of these players are. And again, these locker rooms are so diverse. And that was why when Josh Allen originally came out and said, like, I don't know, I'm gonna have to do some things, like, Josh Allen is going to play both sides of the fence. He has players in that locker room that will not get the vaccine. He also has players that are for the vaccine. So if he comes out here and says like, yeah, I'm absolutely getting it, if you don't get it, you're a moron, like he's going to alienate part of the locker room. And that's not what he wants to do. And second, when I was 22, 23 years old, I thought I was invincible too. Yeah. These guys are that times a million and they eat concussions for breakfast. Like these guys think they are invincible. So like, again, some of this stuff, I do try and realize that. But when you have a team that has always marched so straight in a line under Sean McDermott, there hasn't been any problems. Like I still don't even know what happened with Quentin Spain. Like he was starting and then he was gone. And it was like, that's how quick it went. And for Cole to go off this deep end, and that's why I said it was a distraction, because he, and then he makes the line, if I'm forced to retire, so be it. Like, right. That stands out. Like all of a sudden you're making ultimatums, Cole, that like, Nobody was asking you to.
If he was 20% worse, I borderline think he'd be off the team by now. Like, because like you said, that's so anti-process that they would be. But the fact is, he's really good. He does something the team really needs right now. But like, if he was little worse,
are you talking about rap?
Yeah.
That's what the team needs right now. Or rap.
They need that pregame rapping.
I think my personal opinion on it is no white rapper should have a Twitter account. That's just on me. That everybody from Cole Beasley to Eminem, Machine Gun Kelly, they shouldn't be able to voice their opinion.
That should be the title of this podcast.
Yes, no white rappers with Twitter. I do like what the NFL is doing. They're treating this virus thing like my wife treats me going to Burger King. She never said I can't go to Burger King, but if I go to Burger King, I will never hear the end of it. Therefore, like, she's not saying don't go to Burger King. But if I go to Burger King, she's gonna be like, so how was Burger King? And then it's like, oh, do you want to get something, or are you just gonna go to Burger King again? It's like, but you should go to the doctors. You should really get checked out. Like, she'll just keep nipping at me with everything until I just don't go to.
And the other thing that really stood out to me, and it was somebody that, I'll give my brother the credit, but he was the one that was like, like, what is going on with Cole? And he goes, these guys always talk about they'll do anything for the team, right, guys? I'll do anything for the team. I guess there's a line, and I know that's a hot take, but like, these guys get shot up all the time. These guys go through. Cole played with a broken leg, and then he was just like, yeah, you get it shot up, and like, it is what it is. And it's like, holy cow, man, like. Jeez. And these guys, they get scraped up off the ground. The NFL uses them and then kicks them to the curb the second that they're done. But like, that was what I thought about when Sean McDermott said, I'm trying to educate the players. He's never going to convince Jordan Poyer. He's never going to convince, Cole Beasley to get the vaccine. But if there are some guys on the fence, and I think what Sean is saying is like, hey, if you can swing us closer to 85 so that we don't all have to wear masks and we can have more in-person meetings, like, take one for the team. Like, this is going to be better for us, because then if you're in close contact, you don't have to quarantine. You won't miss a week. Like, again, in all these things, and I know it's personal privacy and all that stuff. Like, we're going to find out. The Bills take pictures when they get on the planes. We're going to see who's wearing masks. We're going to see who's not in meetings. Like, all of that shit's going to come out. Like, you can't hide it. You're telling me, how many times do we see Snapchats or Instagram videos of Trey White, in the locker room, joking around with the teammates? Like, if we see somebody with a mask on or not a mask on, like, we're going to be like, yeah, got it.
Yeah. And it's as much as you were saying about them feeling invincible. A sad statistic I read recently is the WNBA, God bless them, 99% of their players vaccinated. And Cole Beasley's over here like, I'm going to drink more water. And it's just like, what is going on? Yeah.
I loved that response of his. He goes, something like, why trust science? What happened to God's will? And I was like, dude, I'm going to use that for anytime anyone asks me a question I don't like. My girlfriend's like, where do you want to eat? I'm like, yo, it's God's will right now. He's going to decide. And we just sit in the living room and stare at each other. So I'm like, yo, God's
what do you want to watch
tell
tonight?
us.
God's will, man.
God's will. He'll
Netflix does have the button where you can just say, try something. So
it should say God's will.
Should say God's will. The last kind of to wrap up this thing is I don't know if you saw, but there was a small rally supporting Cole Beasley featuring some of Buffalo's dumbest people and organizations. And Stefan Mihailu was there. I don't know if you guys know the Erie County comptroller who used to work at Channel 7 in Buffalo, who's just like a dumb, gross opportunist. And I can't stress this enough. I think Kyle will appreciate this. Just so fucking ugly. He's such an ugly fucking guy. He has a big dumb head. He looks like Admiral Akbar fucked someone from The Sopranos. He stinks, and being anti-vaccine stinks. And that's what I wanted to.
Well, any new fans listening, where they're not going to listen to the other episodes that much.
Well, and the thing is like, for all these people that are turned off about all this vaccine talk, it was the same thing for players not coming out for the national anthem. Like, I hate to break it to you, like, for everybody that's like, oh, I'm not going to watch the NFL anymore, I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, the NFL just signed a massive TV deal. Like, they're fine. Like the NFL is invincible at this stuff. So like, even for all the things that like fans are like, oh, I can't believe this, or like, they can't make them do that. Like, you can't do that. It's like, they're going to do it, and they're going to get away with it, and it's going to be fine, because that's what the NFL does.
Yeah. I agree. Okay. That's yeah. So now Kyle, you have a segment. I just wanted to bring up Cole Beasley being fucking dumb and see we got something out of it, Greg. It was fun. It was a fun conversation.
I hope that that person who requested it on Twitter got their fill.
Yeah. And if you don't have your vaccine yet, go get it, you fucking dork.
I got 6 anthrax shots in the Navy. Look at me.
Yeah.
I can't smell anything or see out of my left eye anymore. And I started going bald immediately. But bring it on, anthrax. I could beat you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service, Kyle.
Welcome. All right. So Dan, the reason in the off season we like to bring on people that know what they're talking about, unlike Greg and Sean here. So this episode, we wanted to name it something like the worrying episode. We're just going to tell you our biggest fears for this upcoming season, and you're going to either tell us if they're justified or if we're just being crybabies.
Okay.
So I'll start. One of my biggest fears is that the Bills couldn't run the ball last year at all. One of my biggest fears is that Sean McDermott is going to overcorrect and run the ball too much, and we're going to go 8-8.
I think I think you're being a little crybaby because I don't think Sean McDermott touches as much of the offense as you think. I may be one of the biggest Brian Daboll fans this world has ever seen. I think he's a phenomenal mind and that has really figured out and has come to terms. And I always used to say that the Bills, like last season, the Bills offense came to the 21st century of the NFL. It was like, yeah, hey, by the way, first down run for 1 yard and a second down run for 3 yards. And then you're fucked on third down. That's not how it goes. It's like throw the ball on first down. If it's incomplete, throw it on second down. And then you throw it again on third down because flags get called all the times.
Yep.
And it's really, really, really hard to play defense. And oh yeah, Josh Allen can also run too, if you need him to. I just think that the relationship of Brian Daboll and Josh Allen is so strong, and what Brian Daboll has finally been able to get across. And the Bills, I know from a source, went into analytics quite a bit last year, and they learned about the ability of throwing the ball on first down. And nobody in the league threw the ball more on first down than the Bills. And it's not a coincidence that they were also then third in the league in points. Like things were directly correlated where. And I do believe that they want to run the ball better, but I don't think they want to run the ball more, if that makes sense. And I always said that when they brought in Stephon Diggs, they weren't bringing him in to block. Like that guy is going to catch passes, and that's just what he did. And I think that they're going to keep doing that.
All right, I like that. Well, I'll give you one of my worries, which is the same worry I have every year, but I'll make it specific, which is injuries. I think if Tre'Davious White misses even like 6 games, the whole season is fucked because there's we have like a decent number 2 corner, decent number 3 corner, but if those people have to play much more snaps, the almost entire season goes out the window.
Yes and no. I think that one's more justified as long as Hyde and Poyer stay healthy, which they have. In the 4 years that those two guys have been on the team, they've missed 3 games combined between the two of them. Like those guys are the quarterbacks of this defense. And when we've talked to Leslie Frazier about that, so many teams think about building their defense from like the defensive line and then moving up. They build theirs from the back forward. Like that is how good Hyde and Poyer have been. And I think if Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace have to play more than we're maybe comfortable with, if God forbid Tre'Davious White gets injured for the slightest bit, I think they can suffice. I think they can survive enough and not get gouged for 30 points a game. I think if Hire and Poit stay healthy, that alleviates a lot of the pressure on Trey. What it will be tough to do is that teams don't even look Trey's way. Like whatever side Trey's on, quarterbacks are just, they're like, all right, I'm not throwing to the left side, like wherever Trey lines up. Like, so it predicts other things. So like you can now know, like, okay, if Trey's on the left side, like 60% of the time they're throwing on the right side. So those things are what you would lose without Trey.
All right, Greg, beat that.
I will. And it's it'll be surprising that I am, honest to God, going into this upcoming season not really worried about a lot. So like I think the Patriots suck. And like it's like the boogeyman's gone. The Patriots are no longer good. I'm not worried about them all. I think Miami won't put it together enough, and I think the Jets still need a couple years. Maybe next year when we have you on, I'll have more worries. So my biggest concern is that Mitch Trubisky has a decent preseason game, and then we have to hear about how he should be the starting quarterback. That's the thing I'm worried about most going into the season. That he has like awesome. that he goes 13 for 15 for 158 yards and a touchdown, and I have to listen to a single person say a single thing about him.
Like when Matt Barkley put up 40 points against the Jets, and they were like, maybe he can run this offense better. Yeah. And you're like, nah. Greg, that's amazing. Like your worry is that you don't have enough worries going into a Bills season.
I should be worried more. I really should.
Yeah. I think you're worried about the defensive line. I think that's the one thing. And like I said, that's
talk for me. I didn't say anything about the defense.
But that's so true about like the Mitch Trubisky is that like, I guess you should be worried if when Mitch has that 13 for 15 game, if you get a third rounder or a fourth rounder, like maybe Bean won't get enough in return for the preseason trade of Mitch Trubisky is what you should be worried about.
I think they're probably getting another cornerback before the season starts, right? Like that's probably going to happen. Yeah. I would imagine they do. So Sean, your worry was stupid.
Well, the best worry so far. I don't want to brag, but
I'm worried this podcast won't end soon. That's my biggest worry.
Someday.
Yeah. And it has nothing, Dan, this has nothing to do with, I do this every single episode. Yeah. I hate my life. I wish I was dead. You have made it brighter for a short amount of time, but even you can't fix my
heart. My next worry is,
damn it. We're doing more than one.
Yeah, I wrote 2 and I can riff a third.
I'm not doing 2.
I knew you weren't doing 2. That's why I wrote it.
And you can't have my second either. This is your last worry. Don't try and make it 2 worries either. I'm paying attention.
I'm worried people are still going to use Tremaine Edmonds' age as an excuse to why he's not dominant.
Completely justified.
Yes!
1000% justified. Did you guys know that he's like 23 years old? Like, did you guys know that?
Oh my God. I've been hearing how old he is since the day they drafted him. And every time he misses a tackle, they're like, he's 22, he's 21. I'm like, the guy got you drafted 16th overall. He should be great immediately. I don't give a shit how old he is.
Yeah, did you know that 2 of the Bills players they drafted this year are older than Tremaine Edmonds? There's another one you can use. Yeah, no, it's a real problem. And I know that they want him to be this elite level linebacker. And look, he's made Pro Bowls. Like we can't like take that away, but I would love to see him blitz more and be less in coverage because he is just, I don't want to say awful in coverage, but I will say he's awful in coverage. And like, I don't know how good he is without Matt Milano. And I think that's more of a credit to how good Milano is. And I remember that like, besides Trey, Matt Milano is the most important player on the Bills defense. Like even more than Hyde and Poyer, who I have so much respect for. And that's going to be a very tricky thing because the Bills can extend or they will extend Tremaine and they'll get that 5th year. I think they did that already. They did them both. So they did that. And like Milano's deal can technically like everybody talks about like, oh, these are 4-year deals. These 4-year deals with John Feliciano. Like what a great deal for John Feliciano and all these guys they re-signed. Like they can all be cut in a year. Like John Feliciano, if he has a bad year, he's getting cut and they're going to have to rebuild the offensive line. Like so many people are like, everybody's under contract until 2024. And it's like, they're really not. Like every NFL deal is a 2-year deal. As we saw with John Brown, like you step up, you slip up and they can cut you and save money. They'll do it. And there's a chance that like in 2 years, they could tag Tremaine. They could pick up, they'll play out the 5th year. They can tag him. And then him and Edmonds or him and Milano could both possibly, who knows what happens. They'd have to draft another linebacker, but like they could move on. And I would love to see Tremaine Edmonds. And I know that they keep drafting defensive linemen like they're going out of style and like you got to have enough of them. Tremaine, I think, would be a great defensive end for his size and because he can't cover and he over pursues. We've seen him over pursue gaps on runs, like where he goes in the wrong gap and the running back goes right through him. So like, I think he would work out. I just wish he blitzed more. He's a freak. The guy is a freak and he never blitzes.
It
And
should be
like,
noted, he's only 23 years old. Though.
he is only 23, and that's what we will hear on the broadcast as we see shots of Niagara Falls as we play the Miami
the chicken
Dolphins.
wings in the bucket.
Yes,
they put 'em out,
that's the other one.
I feel like Kyle's never been more excited because I honestly, every podcast he's like, Tremaine Edmonds is bad, right? And everyone's like, no. And like he finally met someone who kind of agrees with him.
Tremaine Edmonds has split the fan base. There's people who think it seems to they like overjudge him because the people who are like he's not good, so the people who are like he's good really are like no, he's great. But then it's like
he's somewhere in between.
Yeah, I think he's fine. I hope they don't sign him to like a monster deal, but middle linebackers don't really do that. But like you said, when you watch Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano on the same field, Matt Milano jumps almost every single time.
Matt Milano makes
barely jumps.
Yeah, Matt Milano makes more plays where you go, wow, than Tremaine Edmonds does. Where you're like, oh, Tremaine like lost that, like that could have been a tackle for a loss, and instead it's a 3-yard gain. And you're like, and then you're like, he's 23, or he was 22, or he's 21, or he was 19.
It's one of those things like in his same draft, I believe it was the same draft. Darius Leonard was taken in the second round by the Colts, and he's a unanimous top 5 linebacker. No matter what site you read, what rankings, he's a unanimous top 5. And it's kind of like, yeah, that's kind of more what we were hoping Tremaine Edmonds has turned into. But again, I don't think, especially Bills fans, they really love their players. And so like, Pro Football Focus, who Bills fans hate, except when they say something good, they go, hey, Tre'Davious White is a really good cornerback. He's probably like the 6th best in the league. And Bills fans are like, fuck you. He's not 6th. And you're like, dude, 6 is pretty good.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, dude, set yourself on fire. Get out of my house.
Well, speaking of splitting the fan base, Kyle, Kyle's biggest crush in the world is Joe Biscaglia, who's been on the podcast a couple before. Kyle loves him, but
don't make me blush.
He did a poll over there at the Athletic that I saw. 1,500 fans took it, and one of the questions was the most overrated player. Mitch Morse was number 1, but Edmonds was 3 votes behind him in second place. So really splitting the, by the way, 3rd was Feliciano, 4th Oliver, and 5th Beasley, which I think has more to do with the vaccine thing than anything. But
I wouldn't call Beasley overrated. I think he's really
Feliciano's valuable because of his versatility. I think that's big. The fact that he swung inside and played center so well was pretty clutch.
Well, Kyle, if you don't have anything else, Greg, you'll like this. We could move on to trivia.
I'm done.
Okay.
If you don't go to
justified,
trivia,
so.
I'm quitting the podcast.
Okay. Well, we'll go. Well, you know what? Quickly before trivia, Greg, though, this is a segment you like. Dan,
what if he was like, Greg, quickly before trivia, my other worry.
I should have. If I was smart enough, I would have. Dan, we sadly have a Patreon, and our number 1 Patreon, which is the Joe B tier, gets to say something on every podcast. It could be about Bills, it could be about food, it doesn't matter, but we have to read it. So this is Thomas. This is what he sent me this week. Thomas says he wants Bills Twitter to relax on arguing with Jets and Ravens fans regarding Josh Allen. Says Lamar Jackson is good. We should be able to admit that. And Jets fans are always going to be delusional maniacs. Also, both Allen and Diggs are good. So that argument of who is better can die as well. Just relax and post a picture of your beer or your dog. And that sounds like a man after Greg's heart right there.
I love pictures of dogs. That's my favorite. That's the only reason I have a Twitter account is pictures of dogs.
Okay, with that being said, let's go on to the trivia game. We have 3 questions. We always play for a jersey. It doesn't exist, but we like to pretend it does just so we have something to...
I like it.
Is it a Fredonia State Blue Devils jersey?
No. If only. Today's jersey online, because we've been talking about him, Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley jersey online, which interesting. If someone gave you a Cole Beasley jersey, would you wear it? Because it's almost like a political statement. I'd almost rather have any other. It makes me feel like I'm like making a grand statement.
I I don't want to have a hot take here. I'm probably never going to wear a jersey ever.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that is
I don't
take.
like jerseys. I don't like it.
There were some people, like we had our Buffalo Plus podcast. We have a Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. It's got a lot of like, we post like the full extended Zooms. We have our hot takes and stuff like that, along with Mike Catalana and Jenna Cottrell. And there were so many, like, it was so divided. Like you guys were talking about, like some people were like, Cole Beasley's the best. I'm going to go out and buy his jersey. And I was like, that's the weirdest reason to go out and buy a jersey. Like, I don't know. I was just like,
even if you agree with him, he's not the best. He's the third best receiver on the team. He's the best. He's not even the best at his position. So.
Yeah.
It would have been amazing if the anti-vax person was like Matt Hawk and they all had to wear like punter jerseys of like, this guy's a pretty good punter though. We could all agree.
Coffin corner, baby.
The hang time's insane.
Okay, we have 3 questions. We'll start with our guest Dan on this first one. I'm keeping the theme for just this first question. What number is larger, Cole Beasley receiving yards last year or deaths from COVID in Erie County?
Jesus. Sean.
That is grim.
That's a sad question.
It's a sad question, but it proves a point.
Sean's good at trivia.
COVID
These
deaths.
numbers will be close. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. I'll go COVID deaths.
Going COVID deaths. Greg, to you.
it's COVID deaths.
Kyle, do you make it 3 for 3?
Yeah. I think there's a reason you asked this question.
Can I guess the numbers?
Yeah, sure.
I think it's like 913 versus like 878. Isn't it like that close?
It's not that close. I'll tell you, the latest I found is the deaths were 1,812 and the receiving yards were 967.
Yeah, I figured it was 1,000 and just under 1,000. Yeah.
Okay, these next questions are more fun. I just wanted to get one more Cole Beasley dig in there.
That was dark.
I know. I know.
Yeah. Number of grandmas who have been killed by dump trucks.
Don't give away my second question. Okay. Second question. What number is larger, the cost of SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles or the domestic gross of the entire Fast and Furious franchise, F9 in theaters now? We'll start with Greg for this one.
Fast and Furious. It has to be. There's more of them.
That is true. There are more movies than SoFi stadiums.
If Airbud made like $100 million, the Fast and Furious does have to be in like the billions.
Okay. So we got Greg going with stadium. Let's go to you, Kyle.
No, I'm going with the movies. You piece
I'm sorry.
of shit.
You said movies. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, the first couple Fast and Furiouses I don't remember being like groundbreaking where people were like, like now people like line up at midnight to see them. I don't think the first like 3, maybe even 4 were like that. I think it started to get ridiculous at 5.
It was only Fast and Angry at first, like for the first 3 of them.
Fast and upset.
Fast and irritated.
Slightly ticked off.
They should have changed the name everything to a stronger
That would have been awesome.
I can't wait for the prequels, Fast and Happy. Those are going to be tremendous.
Slow and chill.
Slow, chill ride down to the beach. That's what it's going to be.
Fast and I'm doing all right.
Answer the question.
The last couple. Did you say Fast and Furious?
Oh my gosh,
Jesus. Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, Hobbs and Shaw counts the entire franchise.
Okay, then I have to go Fast and Furious.
Okay.
SoFi was like 5 billion. So I don't know if that's a lot for
worldwide now.
No, I said domestic.
Ah, shit.
I'm gonna go SoFi. I'll go SoFi.
I like how Kyle clarified the wrong question. Dan, you are correct.
God damn.
SoFi cost $5 billion, and domestically, the entire Fast and Furious franchise, $1.76 billion.
It's not even close.
It's not even close.
I thought it was worldwide in my defense.
Kyle, in your defense, if it was worldwide, it would have been Fast and the Furious franchise.
Oh, Kyle got tripped up on the question.
Yeah,
that's standard.
Gotta pay attention.
Standard. Furious 7 alone made $1.5 billion worldwide.
There's a lot of stupid people out there.
Hey, those movies are good. I'm one of them. You got to see F9. They go to space. It's great. Okay. Yeah,
Space.
yeah. It's great. See, you're smiling.
Don't sell me a movie on being good and tell me they drive cars in space.
Yes.
You can't do it.
I can. Look how much you're smiling. It's the most I've seen you smile. Since
I
you
imagine
podcast.
Vin Diesel in like a Ferrari pressing the gas pedal in space, but it's not going anywhere. It's just floating along and he's revving the engine.
Okay, we got our guest Dan with 2. The rest of you have 1. We'll start with Kyle here for the third one. There's a tiebreaker if necessary. Kyle, who has more all-time touchdowns? Is it A, Zach Ertz, B, Pete Metzelaars, or C, all of the Bills' current tight ends plus 20?
Wow. Sean digs deep.
So you have 3 choices: Zach Ertz, Pete Metzelaars, or all of the Bills' current tight ends plus 20. Who has more touchdowns? Starting with Kyle, even though he takes the longest.
Yeah.
Man, Zach Ertz has been in the league a while.
So this is not that important. You do not need to spend too much time on
We
this.
just found out he's not even going to wear these fake jerseys. So.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going with
If you asked to clarify.
Ertz.
Okay, Kyle's going Ertz. We'll go to Greg next.
Metzelaars.
Metzelaars. Dan, can you bring this home, or is it going to be a possible?
I think
tiebreaker?
it's Ertz.
It is Ertz. Congratulations.
Yes. Metzelaars played
Even
like
though-
100 years.
I literally just lost. I'm
You
glad
lost
got
it,
that
but-
question.
Knox only has 5. Sweeney
Yeah.
doesn't have any.
Yeah.
I don't know how many Hofstetter has.
He has
Hollister
6.
6. Yeah, they're still not there.
Yep.
What
so
does Ertz have? 50 maybe?
Ertz has 36. The entire
Thought it was
Bills have
36.
11 plus 20 is 31, and then Metzelaars has 29.
That's it.
Yeah. So congratulations to Dan. I'll FedEx you that Cole Beasley jersey. Going 3 for 3. Real domination. Well done.
Dan, what's the YouTube channel again?
Buffalo Plus.
Okay, Buffalo Plus.
Appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. Helps my job. So I appreciate that, guys.
Love Mike and Jenna, so I will definitely check.
Well, after your appearance here, I'm sure NFL Network will be calling it.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I just need to get one of those hats like Sean McDermott has, like the bucket safari hat.
Yeah.
He is talk about guy that's pro vaccine and pro shade. He's a pro shade.
Bro, shade.
I
That
hear
guy.
that. As a balding man, I'm more in love with the bucket hats than ever before.
Yeah.
Well, as much as it is a joke of Kyle saying NFL Network is calling, our favorite story from the podcast, which I think we've said on the air before, is when we had Joe Biscaglia on and someone listened to our podcast first and was like, this guy knows a lot about the Bills. I'm going to sign up for the Athletic. It's like, it's like, you should have come the other way around.
Joe's
Like-
great.
And I think that's it. And Kyle, Greg, do you have any last
Yeah, that better be it. This is like an
things?
hour.
You guys
This
want
is
to talk
way
some
too
more?
long.
Just
I
to
swear
Greg
to
on?
God. You can, Dan. You can have the podcast. Like you're great. Kyle likes you. Sean likes you. Just take it, man. Just host the show. It's all you. You can do
Just
WHAM
take
in the
it.
podcast and your YouTube. As
I
well.
mean, I don't want you to quit your job, but we do make tens of dollars a month. on Patreon.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
And-
I
and
appreciate
we-
you guys having me on. I really do. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thanks for coming. We'll give quickly our credits, which we're on the Helium Podcast Network. Go listen to us. Me and Kyle are performing at Helium Buffalo August 5th through the 7th, opening up for Mark Norman. So come see us.
I went there for my bachelor party.
Whoa.
Oh, so
All
you
right.
talked through the whole fucking show, probably.
Well, if Greg was on stage, I would hope so.
I was there. The guy, the comedian that has the Tourette's.
That's Kyle.
Lynch, right? Drew, is that Drew Lynch?
Yeah, Drew Lynch. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was hilarious. He was
Yeah.
awesome. Really, I like the Helium comedy show. So that's
Thank
great.
you. Thank you for supporting
I
Buffalo
just
comedy.
realized Dan didn't know we were stand-ups.
Mm.
We just
yeah.
told him we were a comedy podcast, and he's probably like, these schmucks think they're funny.
We didn't know how to pronounce his last name, so I think he's allowed
Well,
to not know that.
we figured you were going to do that, and Sean and I were like, we'll figure both out how to say it as soon as Greg
Yeah.
says it, and then your fucking dog
Oh yeah,
started
there's-
yelping off
Well,
stage.
no, I thought it was really funny how like you guys were like, hey, like what job title do you want to go by? Or like what should we like call you? And I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. I was like, never went for the last name, which everybody fucks up.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, it must just know it. And I was like,
It's,
yeah.
it's
I was
Dan
gonna
the
say-
anchor guy.
I was gonna say Fetes.
Yep, that's Fetes is what my wife hates it. She can't.
Yeah.
She went from a beautiful name of Perot to Fetes. She gets.
Did Rex Ryan call you Dan Fetes?
He was a fan of mine.
Feats would be perfect because you can end your podcast with like your main points would be the feats of strength. Like it would have been like, oh, you would have been
Yeah.
all set.
I missed
Change it, I'm
out.
telling you. Yeah, you
I missed out.
Well,
It's okay. I ruined my life too. That's it. That's
Yeah,
stop
that's it.
talking.
I was just gonna say, so come see me and Kyle perform. Sign up for the Patreon. Give us a review on iTunes. And thanks for listening, Dan. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, that's it.
Sweeto.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Dan. That was awesome.
There once was a team in the NFL, and the name of the team was the Buffalo Bills. The kick sailed right, and the fans did groan, no, no, Buffalo, no. Soon may the Allen man come to throw to Beasley and Diggs and run. One day when the playoffs are done, we'll have won that Super Bowl. A ship once led by Marv Levy, with a Bennett and a Thurman and a Jim Kelly. The ship sailed true o'er 1,000 days, never won that Super Bowl. Soon may the Allen man come to throw to Beasley and Diggs and run. One day when the season is done, we'll have won that Super Bowl. Turn of the century come and gone. Last these Bills tread the playoff road. 18 years of sorrow and dread fell o'er Buffalo. Soon may the Allen man come to throw to Beasley and Diggs and run. One day when the season is done, we'll have won that Super Bowl. A light shone dim in 17. Taylor McDermott and Brandon Bean. Bills fought hard but needed help. Throw, Dalton, throw. Oh, now the Dalton man comes to throw to Boyd on 4th and long. 18 years of playoff drought fled from Buffalo. 7th in the draft, McBean, see their man, plucked from Wyoming to Josh Allen. 2 years later, a stud named Diggs lands in Buffalo. Hey, now the Allen man comes to throw to Beasley and Diggs and run. One day when the season is done, we'll have won that Super Bowl. The future has come with records laid low. High are the hopes of your Buffalo. On a wing and a prayer, our voices soar. Let's go Buffalo. Hey, now the Allen man comes to throw to Beasley and Diggs and run. One day when the playoffs are done, we'll have won that Super